Hey, and welcome to another episode of Doug Talks Tech. Today we're going to talk about Spreadsheets 101. So just the basics of a spreadsheet, how to navigate your way around a spreadsheet, and hopefully use something useful. So the goal here is to build something that we can use ourselves again. So we're going to start by looking at a few examples. These are all examples. We won't touch on all of these, but we will look at building a checklist. So many of the things that we do around the household involve some sort of a checklist, whether it's a list of presents for somebody's birthday or Christmas, things that have to get done in a month, like fall cleanup, for example. Another thing that we do a lot of is manage our budget. So I'll show you how to build a basic budget spreadsheet. What you're going to learn in this session is navigating the typical spreadsheet, so finding your way around the grid of cells and introduction to some of the terminology that you're going to encounter whenever you are dealing with a spreadsheet. We'll look at entering information and deleting information that we don't want any longer, because there are some subtleties there that you need to be aware of when you're clearing a cell or deleting a row. Doing some basic formatting and calculations, so sometimes just the simple thing of being able to distinguish the heading on a column versus the data in the column. And then, of course, saving your work. And we're going to use Excel in this. In a future episode, we might look at things like numbers from Apple or sheets from Google Docs, and maybe even OpenOffice, because while some of the things I will show you in Excel do have a counterpart in all of those other spreadsheets, they all do them subtly differently. The basics will be the same, but some of the things which we'll talk about, like tables, are going to be implemented differently. As it turns out, Excel has a very simple way to do it. And while Office 365 is a pay-for product, if you already have Office, then a lot of these features are available to you. If you don't, you can get Office 365 online for free, as long as you are fine to only be able to access it when you're connected to the internet. So we'll start our journey by navigating. And so navigating is just understanding the basic menus. We're not going to look at all the menus, we're just going to look at the basics. We'll look at cells and what they are, how we find them on a page, how we describe where we're looking to someone who is looking at the spreadsheet. The file and edit menus, which are the kind of where most of the basic stuff happens, and entering and deleting information, as we said. So let's take a look at our spreadsheet, and here's a wide open spreadsheet. You'll notice that, let's zoom in here, if you up in the corner here, we have the numbers start, the columns are lettered, right? They're marked with a letter, and they essentially go on forever. They once you hit Z, it starts at AA after that, and then it just continues on like that. And then all the rows are numbered, right? So this cell is A1, and that cell is C1. And you'll notice up in the corner here, it always tells you what cell you're in. So if you get confused, that's a good place to check. A4, etc. Okay? So let's zoom out here. And now, important thing about cells, and you can see there's a mass of cells here, is that they can contain pretty much anything. You can insert numbers, which is what most people are familiar with. You can put text in there. You could even put pictures. So you can get quite creative in how you lay out a spreadsheet. And I think one of the things that's important when you're thinking about spreadsheets is they are often a much cleaner and easier way to order columns of information. So if you just have a list of things that you want to get done that's mostly text, doesn't have to be numbers in it at all. Spreadsheets can often be faster than using a word processor, because you just drag it to whatever width you want and you start typing, and now you've got a nice neat list. There's no fancy formatting required, and as long as that suits you, then you're fine. What I just showed you is how you make a cell bigger, right? You can grab the corner. When you mouse over the corner, it turns into this double-sided arrow. and you can stretch it. We'd click and stretch, and the same thing applies to columns, right? Or rows, sorry. So you can see turns to an arrow when you're over a row. That's so you can highlight the whole row. The same thing applies to a column. And if you want to make a row wider or deeper, then you can do that as well as the columns. All right, so that's kind of your basics of navigating. So let's start by creating some headings. I'm going to add items, price, and a comment. Okay, so we might have an item like that OTG cable that I have talked about in other videos. This is an on-the-go cable. The prices say it's $6.99. I don't remember if that's exactly what it was, and I got it at Amazon. Okay, we might also have post-it notes that we bought, and or a package of a bunch of them, 10 maybe for $9.99. Also at Amazon. Okay, and then we'll just like another thing for $12.56, and we won't say where we got it from. Okay, so now we have a list of things, and this could be a shopping list. It could be any number of things. It could be a to-do list. Okay, but the basics are now we've got things created, and we can do some things with it. So we can highlight a group, and we can decide we're going to bold or italicize or underline those. We can even do things with the cells. So create a bottom border, left and right borders, borders around all of the items, whatever suits your fancy. So let's start by, we'll bold these up, and we'll increase the size of the text. So we have a very obvious headings here. One other thing you'll notice is that this cell has a bunch of text that hangs into the next cell. And sometimes that can be a problem. So as I showed you before, we can stretch this out, or we can decide that we want to have it wrap. And so there's a thing called wrap text. And if you click on that, it will automatically take whatever falls into the neighboring cell and put it below. So we have, it's increased the height of this row to accommodate this extra text, right? Very basic. The other thing we notice is these are numbers, obviously, but they're actually prices, and we may want to format them with a currency designation. So we can change the type of number that we're looking at in a number of ways. So we can change it to any one of these currencies. We'll say English Canada dollars, and it does the normal formatting of dollars and cents. We can decrease the number of cents, or increase, sorry, and decrease if we don't care. We just want to round up. And we can add a total at the bottom of this, right? So we could just do, there's two ways to do this. You always start a calculation with an equal sign, and we can say we're going to take B4 here and add D3 and add B2 and hit return. And so now we have a total that is equal to the sum of these above. Now would get tedious for a very long list of numbers, so the easy thing to do, one other thing that Excel does that all spreadsheets do, is they have built-in functions, and you'll see that in a second. So if I just type in equals, it erases what I put there, and I can do a sum or average or anything that makes sense to me. You open a bracket, and then you just highlight the three cells that you want to sum, and you see it puts B2 colon, which means 2, B2 to B4. You close that off and hit enter, and we get the same result. Okay? Very, sorry, let's fix that. Very simple way to do this. Okay? Okay, so let's take this information, and we'll make a copy of it. We'll go over to create a new sheet, and we're just going to paste the values in. I don't want any of the formatting, okay? Now, Another thing that Excel offers and most spreadsheets offer is a very shorthand way to do what I just showed you. And you can click in any one of these cells, and then you go Insert, Table, and it immediately finds all by itself the boundaries of the table, what it thinks is the table. In this case, our table has headers, right, already in there, and we click OK. Now, you'll notice it does a number of things here. So let's just click outside and take a look, take this in. So it's formatted it automatically for us, which is nice. And if we look over here, there's a number of ways that we could have formatted this. We can do alternating colors, rows like this. And by the way, it tells you up here what the settings are for this table. Let's just zoom in a bit, see if you can't see that well at the back. Okay, so it's created drop-down boxes around each title. I'll show you what those mean in a second. It's done banded rows, and if we don't like that, we can change them to, see if we've got non-banded rows here, right? So there's just a number of different ways that we can do this, and it's smart about keeping the titles of contrasting color, I believe. So, okay, so there we go. We'll increase this a little bit. The other thing it does with this is if we wanted to sort alphabetically, we can click on that drop down and click ascending, and you'll see that it's ordered them alphabetically, right? And they actually were already ordered alphabetically, so that wasn't the best demonstration, but we can also do the same thing for prices, which is much better because it's, let's say, descending. So now it does mess up your total, which is a pain, but let's just deal with this for a second. It also changes the drop down arrow here to reflect that we are filtering this in a descending manner. If we click on ascending, see it's changed those to ascending and has changed the indicator up here. Okay. Okay, so there's the basics. Now, another nice thing about tables is let's get rid of our first deletion exercise. So say we want to get rid of this row of the table. We can just highlight it like that, then go right click, delete table row. See? And it gets rid of it. It also changes the bottom of the table here to exclude that. And I did that for a reason. So one of the nice things about tables, table here, say you want a total row added. So we'll just say add the total row. And it automatically adds a row, a double line above it, so you know where our totals, separates our totals from the numbers. And then when we click down here, it gives us a drop-in down, which gives us a list of functions we could do. So average would just put the average value. That's not what we want. A count would tell you how many items are in the 3 cells above it, which is interesting, but not what we want. The max would tell us the largest of the numbers above, which might be interesting, but again, it's not a total. What we want is to sum, and it automatically knows that we want to do the 2 above, etc. So pretty cool. Now we can also click here and insert a row above. So say we said we wanted to find we've got another thing we wanted to add to this table. So I don't know what we would put in here, say some printer paper. Okay, and that printer paper is costing us $12.99, and we're getting that at Staples. Okay, see, it automatically updated the total, folded the item down here, it pushed the total down, and the same would happen here. So say we wanted to put in a per unit cost for some things, right? So we hit enter, and it automatically extends the table to formatting to include this new column. As I said before, we can go down here, we can click on wrap text, and any of them that spilled over now will get stretched into a column, which is nice, and that's it. It's automatically added count to this column, and I don't want anything, so I'm just going to change that to none. Okay, really simple. It does some very nice things for us that save us time, and basically we get more than what we got by doing it manually, and with a lot more flexibility. Okay. So that's the basics of cells, file and edit, entering and deleting information. Another thing that Excel does, which is very nice, is it provides templates for a lot of the common things you'd want to do with a spreadsheet. And there's quite a list of them. So let's go back over to Excel and let's create a new one. Actually, before we do that, we're going to do one other thing. This is not currently saved, and it's not automatically saving it. If we wanted to do save as to create a name for it and save it someplace, it gives you the option to put it on your OneDrive or whatever you want to, wherever you want to put it. Say I'll put it up there, and we'll say test spreadsheet. Okay, and we'll hit return. Okay, saving, it tells you what it's doing here, and when it's saved, it's done. It also turns on autosave. So from now on, every time you make changes to the spreadsheet, they will get saved by Excel, either to your local disk or to the cloud. Okay, so let's go back on templates. So say we want to do File, New, from Template. So we click on that, and it provides you quite a long list of things that you could do, from the video game tracker to a blank worksheet. In this first one, so these are all, you can see there's a family budget, a personal budget, managing my money, which we'll look at later, mortgage loan calculator, credit card / payroll calculator, I'm not sure what that would do, a household organizer, everybody needs one of those, weekly assignment schedules, etc. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we're going to take a look at a to-do list, and it's a simple list template. It's very practical, has built-in kind of useful features, and there are some Excel helpers which I want to talk to you a little bit about. So here we go. Let's start with this basic list. We click on the one we want and hit create. It creates a new spreadsheet, and you notice right away that there's some formatting applied to it. And so let's just increase this. So it gives us a place to put a task or title. We can change these. It's basically got date, the item, and some notes. So it's very similar to what we said before, and you can tell by these drop downs that this has been created using the built-in table function. So it has all of the great stuff that we talked about before. So we can go over to table, and we can change the formatting if we want to something different. Okay, so part of the reason I wanted to talk to you about this is because dates are they are a number type within Excel, and there are some special functions. So if we wanted to go, say, October 21st, let's fix this, sorry, because I'm doing this because everybody has a different way that they do it. If you worked in accounting, you would have a day, month, year maybe. If you never had any sort of standard imposed upon you, you might just do month, day, year. So the easiest way to avoid that ambiguity is to spell out the first few letters of the month, the day, say the 21st, and the year fully 2019. So it's not guessing about what's in what. Okay? And but another way to do this is to use a built-in function called today. Built-in functions have little brackets behind them, okay? And that will fill in today's date. And it does it year, month, day, okay? So we can also do interesting things with date. We can do with today. We can do today as a function and then plus or minus some number of days. So 2 days after today would be like that, okay? And we can go, similarly, we can go before. Say 1 day before, -1. All right? Follow? Okay. Now, this is not that useful, this format, for a list. So one of the things you probably would want to do is you would want to go in and change this format. So on the home menu, you can go over to the format drop down and look at the date formats that are available to you. So this is the date, and these are the different formats that are available. So if we wanted to convert it to this format, it would change the date to the full month, the day, and the comma of the year. Still not that useful for a to-do list, because really you're probably looking at this week. So if we go to custom, then we have complete flexibility over what we use. The standard here that we're using is, or the standard would be month, 1 day, and year, okay? We can change this to, say we just want the day, and then hit OK. And so this one has sort of messed it up. I'm not sure why, but you can see here we just got Sunday, Tuesday, Saturday. Let's fix this to 21st of October 2019. Yeah. So it didn't like the way I had done the year first. It wants the month, the day, the year, or the day, the month, the year. So so there you go. So that's that. We can type in some things in here, sort of like, wash the car, etc. And it builds our list for us. It has all of the functions too here, so that if we wanted to eliminate certain days from this list, we can just deselect them. If we wanted to sort by ascending or descending, we can do that as well. And that's that. Okay, very simple function. It's easy to change it. We can change the setup here. This is to-dos, and oops. Another way to edit these, by the way, is to go up here and you can edit if it's a long string instead of trying to triple click in here. And we'll saw this October 21. Okay, and there's our spreadsheet. Pretty straightforward. Now, if you want to do a simple budget, we can again go to templates, and in templates we can enter our income sources, our expenses, and see what kind of cash balance we have left. This one has a built-in visual, and you can customize it. So let's take a look at that. So we'll go and we'll do File, New from Template. We'll pick our Manage My Money template and tell it to create that. All right. So you see right away what it's done is in this template it has a nice clear white background, so there's none of the vertical lines. It's provided a summary at the top of your total monthly income, your total monthly expenses, any sort of savings per month, and then the cash balance. And here you can look at your income sources, and you can, because you'll notice this is a little corner, so these are done as tables as well. So if you wanted to add another table, you can do the same thing. You can insert rows above or below, and then add your other sources down here. Obviously, our expenses are going to be different. You might have an entertainment expense item, etc., and you can change these values based on what your actual grocery bill is, say, or any of them. Okay, and what it does is it recalculates and shows us that the percent of our income spent is 52%. Okay, and that's as simple as it goes. So in this case, you'll see they've done something, this is a little more advanced, but they're doing a sum. But what they've done is this table down here has a name. So if we wanted to find out what it was, you can click on the table tab over here, and you'll see when you click in income, it tells you its name is income, and if you click in here, it tells you its name is expenses, and same here for savings, it's called savings. Now that's interesting because it makes it much easier, it gives us a shorthand for accessing the information when we want to do totals. So when we're doing our total monthly income here, right, if we click on this, take a look at the top, it's got sum of, like we did before, income, and then the column is in square brackets. So it's saying sum up the table income and the column amount. All right, and so if we go down to income, there's a column called amount, and it's just basically summing up all these three values and giving us this value up here. It's likewise for expenses, it sum from the expenses table amount, and for savings, sum from the savings table amount, and the cash balance is basically the total monthly income, subtract the total monthly expenses minus the total monthly savings, and that gives us our cash balance. And you can get as sophisticated or as simple as you want to on this, but this is a nice visual and it gives you some flexibility, and you can simply add items. I'll show you just to be clear. So click in the table, you right click, insert, row above, we'll type in entertainment, and we'll give a value of, say, $150 a month. Okay, automatically forts, and we spent now 56% of our total monthly income. Okay, so let's go back to our presentation. So one of the things that you can give me in the comments below is, is this useful? Is there too much information here? Would you like to learn more about spreadsheets just in general? More about the templates that we've talked through. There are lots of them, as you can see. Is our lists more interesting than budgets, or are budgets kind of the most interesting thing that people have on their minds? And then what about visuals? There's a whole huge world of visuals if you're interested in that. And I can also do a video on the different packages and how a given function would be performed in all of them, or how the specific unique features of them individually. Again, numbers if you're a Mac user, OpenOffice if you want a open source, friendly, free package, Google Sheets if you happen to be a Google Office user or Google Docs user. And that's it. Thanks for listening. Leave your comments below, and we'll talk again.